During the past few weeks of Mixed Media Masters, we've been spending a lot of time working with acrylic paints and coming up with lots of interesting textures and techniques for using acrylics. And today on Mixed Media Masters, we're going to continue with that trend and we're going to try to create a masterpiece using some of the things we've learned over the last few weeks. Hello makers and welcome to Spectiva Studios. If it's your first time here, then good to have you. Thanks so much for joining us. By the way, if you're really interested in art and art techniques and learning about painting and collage and all sorts of mixed media techniques, then hit that subscribe button. We drop a video every single week. We think you'll like it here. If you're coming back, thank you. It's always good to have people who visit us on a regular basis, and thank you for all your kind comments. It really means a lot to me. Now this week, we want to explore again some of the things we can do, and I thought it'd be really fun to come up with some easy projects for beginners, the kind of thing we can create a masterpiece in 10 minutes or less. Yeah, that's right. Now, nothing like putting a little bit of pressure on you when you're getting started. But I'm going to share with you a technique today that's going to make things a little bit easier, I think, in a lot of ways, to come up with something. And one of the things about abstract art is I want you to feel comfortable with the idea of just letting things go. Don't overthink it. Kind of work with the colors, kind of work with the textures, but come up with something that's pleasing to your eyes. And again, sometimes you come up with something at the end, you're like, yeah, that's a learning experience. Other times you look at it and say, I'm going to hang that on the wall. So we're going to see what comes up today. Again, I have no way of knowing. It may be grand, it may be less than grand. I'm going to start my stopwatch here and we'll go for 10 minutes. Now I'm working with sponges today, and what I'm going to do is I have a 16 by 20 inch already pre-gessoed canvas here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to really come in here and I'm going to kind of fill it in with some white. I'm going to pick up a little bit of color from here from time to time, and I want to blend some of these things in. We're going to do a lot of working to create some neutral background colors. We'll drop some weird colors in from time to time, but most of it's going to be about blending and getting things here on our canvas. And by the way, I have a little pool of water I'm working with here to help stretch my paint and just keep it pliable, keep it going. All right, so first stage is we're gonna just come in here and we're gonna add a background. It doesn't have to be very, very bright. That's not the goal. The goal is really just to kind of lay a foundation of paint already. Even though it's been gessoed, it's gonna just flow more smoothly if we come in here and drop some of our white in it with little dashes of color in it. Make it a lot more fun for ourselves. There we go. And one of the things I love about working with these, these are just standard kitchen sponges. There's nothing very fancy about them, and they've just been cut into slices. So go grab a sponge that's got a scrubby side on it too, at least mine does. And who knows, that might come in handy for some of the things that we're trying to do. And again, I'm gonna drop it on the floor and I'm gonna pick up a new one. That's what I'm gonna do. All right, and I'm going to put a little bit more white here where this green came out, so it just doesn't need to dominate. There we go. So we have a fun background already. Now this is really a foundation. What I want to start doing now is I want to start building some colors on it. Now how bright I make the colors and what I do with the colors is really up to me. But I'm thinking I want to create maybe more in the central of this area, just something that I can come in here and say, okay, there's going to be kind of a red section that I can put around here. Again, I can blend it in if I want to, right? I can kind of pat it in, but I can start to work with some colors like that. I'm going to turn my sponge around so I can have a little bit of a clean spot here. Maybe let's do something with kind of maybe a yellow in here as well. Now, there are no right colors, there are no right answers. What I am going to do is I'm going to try to break mine down by saying, all right, let's put like a green color up here at the top. We'll go in the upper right-hand corner, and I'm going to blend it in with some of the yellow that I have in here. And if I need to add a little bit of white to bring that down, I can dab into some white. But it's just going to make we're kind of making an interesting effect as we go across here. Let's see how much more red we need to do here. Kind of see if this is the kind of thing that's going to work. And the thing about working with these paints, especially if they're still wet, is we can hit them and go over them again and again if it's not coming to where we want it to be. Yeah, put a little bit of a kind of a green teal up here in the upper left hand. And again, I'm going to add a little bit of water into my sponge here to make the blending a little bit blendier. All right, so we're getting some interesting things. I'm getting some purples down here. It's not going to really be a rainbow, but we are getting kind of a poly-colored type of thing down here. And again, if I need to lighten anything up, that white can be put back over the color so we don't end up with anything that's just too dominant, if that's what we want to be able to do. A little more white up here, please. All right, we're getting somewhere. We're getting to something anyway. Now, part of what we're doing here, of course, is making sure that the colors that we're putting on here are something that are appealing to you, or if you want to be able to share your art with somebody else, to them as well. But again, I want to point out that there's no exact correct way to do anything that we're doing. One of the things we can think about, however, is from a texturing standpoint, I'm doing a lot of back and forth across my canvas. What happens if I come in here and do something that's a little bit more vertical? Does that change the dynamic? Does that make it more interesting for our eyes to kind of jump onto something and say, oh, that's a little outside the what we've gotten used to with everything going back and forth. And there's the possibility that that's really going to be what's going to be the interesting part of our artwork. And again, if I come in here and just kind of pick up different colors and dab them in, I got some just crazy fluorescent pink here. I don't know. I'm not sure that's going to be the choice of color here, but this is what happens if we put this in here as well. So I can start to bring in some of the colors that I think are going to be most interesting to really dress this up. And again, I'm just kind of experimenting and saying, how can I bring this in and make this work? Now, of course, I could also come in if I had an idea and say, we're going to do some flowers. This is going to be what the flowers look like. I'm going to put some green in here, and these will be the foundation. I'm not sure that green's sticking very well. But, what I end up doing with this is entirely up to me. And, again, is it fully abstract? Is it going to be more of an impressionistic approach of like, it turns out I'm going to have a garden here. There's some more flowers. I got a little bit of red coming in here. And I can really dress it up, maybe just, again, create those green foundations down here and create something that's going to look a lot more like a garden, if that's what I want. I'm going to change my my brush here, as it were, my sponge. And I'm thinking, I think for my purposes, I really like the idea of having some brighter splashes of color in here, but I don't need it to look like anything. It doesn't need to represent. So I'm going to kind of just blend this stuff down. Let me get that, I think it's a pink up here too. There we go, and that fluorescent. We can leave some, bits and pieces here. We can leave like a little tiny tidbit of some of these bright colors behind when we do this, and that way, again, it's going to draw the viewer's eye. When they come in and look at this piece, it's going to be that thing that we pull together. Let me get some more white in here. Going to work over our foundation here. And I will get a little bit of vertical. Let's get some green in here. We're going to work it. Now again, I'm working with a timer. I'm at, believe it or not, it's been over 6 minutes since we started. We've done a fair amount of exploration. But by coming in here and letting the colors talk to you, letting the canvas talk to you, it's going to give me an opportunity to kind of figure out where do I want to go next when I come in here and do this. And again, I'm trying to bring in some of the brighter colors now that I want to be part of what I'm seeing here, and some of the texturing that I can do. Now, we get the texturing with the sponge. If I turn the sponge over and use more of the coarse side, I can really change it. You can even hear it when I come in here. It's the scrubby, which is, I don't know. It's a paintbrush in its own right, I suppose. Let me kind of come in here and blend that a little bit. And again, if I'm trying to make this look like something else, it could be a very blurred picture of of a scene of some sort. Maybe I'm looking at a river going by, or however I want to do this. Get a little bit more white in there. And I'm up to almost 8 minutes, so one of the things I'm going to start thinking about at this point is how can I add a little bit of detailing into what we're doing here. And I'm going to come in here. I've got a little bit of black in my palette here. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to add a little bit, some sections. And by the way, black is just really such an amazing, lack of color, if you will, that it really, the contrast it offers in here to draw the eye is really important. And I'll put a little bit over here. Again, I don't want it to make it a study in black, but being able to have something that, again, people can look at. Now I'm just going to come in and I'm going to say, all right, let me dab in a little bit of extra color. Where we have it, we'll do that. We'll put some up here as well. Maybe some orange in that. Maybe a little yellow in here, kind of a cluster of those colors, nice and bright. And we'll do something over here as well. Again, I'm just kind of really just tapping in with the backside of my sponge, as it were. But we can do the detailing. All right, we're at the 9-minute mark, so a little bit more, tiny bit of black, just to bring it down here and have something to look at. A little bit of red, again, drop that in there. And I have a little blue on this other palette. I'll just put that in there. Kind of a color that's not dominating anything. We'll do it here. All right. Now again, what we do with this is entirely up to us. I'm going to say, you know what? I'm happy with how the colors have worked out here. One of the things that's going to happen over time is that once this dries and I get a chance to look at it, and I find sometimes what I'll do with a piece like this is I'll hang it on the wall. And I'll have it there for a few days and I'll look at it. And my brain will tell me, there's something about that I want to change. Right? My brain's always like, I think we can make it better if we do this. And I often will listen to that. So I may take this down after a few days and put some fresh paint on it and kind of try to dress up some of the areas where I think it's deficient. Other times I'll look at it and say, you know what, that's really growing on me. I put it up there, I'm looking at it, and it's kind of fun. And a piece like this, what I really like about it is when you look at it, you start seeing new things each time. You start seeing new designs and things that are happening, especially if you have, sections of black. It really helps to draw your eye and to say, what's going on in there? Is that two guys sitting in a boat? What is that? What is that of, right? Now we can come back in here, by the way, and we could decorate this. We could have pencils, we could use charcoal, we can use crayons, we can overlay this if we want to do something. But for right now, I think it's kind of a fun study of colors. Is it a masterpiece? I'm going to have to hang it on the wall and find out, I think. But for the most part, I just created a piece of artwork in under 10 minutes by using sponges. So let's keep that in mind. And for what we have here, it's kind of an interesting take. And again, you're going to find your own place. But I want to encourage you to give something like this a try, not just watch me do it. These are relatively inexpensive canvases, so they're pretty easy to grab. It doesn't have to be the fanciest paint either, but something that's just going to allow you to create something that you like. That's what we're trying to do. All right, this is the first project. I'm going to come back after our little break, and I'm going to create another project using a different approach, and we'll see what kind of masterpiece we can create then. Welcome back. So for our next project, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and transform my canvas into another abstract. And this time I'm going to use a number of different paint colors here. We've got some red and some yellow and some orange and maybe even a slightly different color red. And what I want to do is just transform this into an abstract. And I'm going to be using basically a tool I'm going to make myself. I'm going to take a piece of cardstock and I'm going to cut something out about 1 inch wide by about, 3 inches long. It doesn't have to be incredibly lengthy. I can make more than one. But this is going to be my paintbrush tool, as it were. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to start by taking my paints, and by the way, if they've been sitting around for a while, you should shake them up. They may have separated. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go onto my canvas, which is, again, 16 by 20 inch, and it's already been pre-gessoed and it's pretty much ready to go. And I'm going to just kind of drop some of my yellow paint here, periodically. I'm not going to make it super even, but try to get somewhat even distribution, so it's not all just one yellow at one end and all red at the other end or something like that. So just get some different colors in here. And again, it doesn't have to be precise. No one's going to come in and measure this. All right, that looks like it might work for me. I'm going to follow that up with some red here. Nice. And let's get some orange in here as well. So there we go. There's a little orange there, some there, some there. And I'm going to kind of do one of these. How about that? There we go. Quite a bit of orange in there. And I'm not sure about other colors yet. I might come back in. We'll see if we can dress this up a little bit, but we may not need to. Now, I'm going to take my my ersatz cardboard spreader, as it were, and I'm going to do just that. I'm going to come in and I'm just going to start to drag down in some of these areas. I'm going to go across, and I'm going to drag down. And I'm just going to come down to the next level, kind of pick up from the top, and just drag down. I may come up here and just start to fill in the white spaces up here, since I have enough paint to work with. And you can see it gets a little kind of interesting on the blockies, because each layer is kind of has its own demarcation. And by the way, if we let a little of the white through once in a while, it's not a bad thing. It's going to be an eye-catching thing that we end up doing. Look at that. We're almost halfway done with our painting already. It's that easy. All right. And all we're just simply doing is just kind of filling in all the white space as best we can with the paint that is already on the canvas in front of us. That's going to make things pretty easy for us. Down here, coming down to the bottom. And again, I might need to drag some of the paint I already have down to fill in the white space down here. Looks like that's not going to be a problem. What really makes this technique work, however, is not that we're having long strokes down, but the short strokes. We're doing it incrementally, so we can actually see where the strokes are. The paintbrush marks, as it were, become really one of the stars of this project. I'm just going to try to fill in best I can down here. Not a right answer, but I'm just trying to make this look like it's been completed. And by the way, if I need a new paintbrush, and I do, this one, if I'm being honest, has just decided it's had enough. I'm going to go grab myself another piece. And again, I can go back through here and I can kind of pick up some of the lumpier pieces and just drag them. And kind of come in here and just get a sense of how can I distribute this and make it kind of fun. I think I need a little bit more red down in this area. That's one of the things that seems to be missing. But if we let this dry, we're going to have a very interesting textured effect. Now, the question I might ask myself is, great, the red and the orange and the yellow look kind of fun here together. Do I want to risk putting an additional color in here? I'm going to try a little bit of a test here. I'm going to just pick up a little bit of blue, just to see if it's the kind of thing that's going to enhance or detract from this. Interesting. Let me try a little bit of the green and try something similar. You know, I think this is actually going to be kind of an interesting thing. I'm finding that I like the little bit of texture and the different colors that it's bringing in. Now I have some stuff left over from our last project on my palette here, and I'm gonna come in and just kind of hit it up a little bit with some of the green and some of the blue from time to time, and just work that up into the piece. I'm just really just touching that green almost by just tapping my card into it, so I can pick up just a little bit of it. I don't want it to be dominant. But I kind of like what it's doing down here, and again, I might stretch this out a little bit just so it doesn't look so regular. I want it to seem a little bit more kind of happenstance and put it in here randomly. But, yeah, it's kind of, it is adding an additional something to this. It just makes it seem a little bit more planned, I guess. It's not as just 3 colors and you're done. And we can come in here and add something to really draw the eye. So let me just grab a little bit of that tiny blue. Not that I need too much of it, but again, adding a little dimensionality to it, and there it is. All right, I don't hate that at all. That's kind of a fun piece. And by the way, 6 minutes. 6 minutes total to create that. So again, this is the kind of thing you can very easily do yourself. Picking up these canvases, not expensive, not a bad investment. But being able to come in here and put some paint down and just spread it around. Create something like this. Again, at the end of the day, it's really just a textured canvas, but once this dries, it's going to have a different look. It might require putting some sort of some sort of surface over this to shine it up a little bit if you want. And by the way, I'll leave one of the videos that I've done in the past on being able to come in and put varnishes and finishes on your paintings to make them pop a little bit more. You may also want to play around with the edges and just make it so there's less, but if we put this in a frame, that's going to look pretty darn good as it is. Oh, by the way, don't forget to sign your masterpiece. But that's what we're working on. So we managed to make two masterpieces today in less than 10 minutes each, which is really what we were aiming for. Anyway, I hope this was a lot of fun for you, and I hope it inspires you to go and create your own artwork. And by the way, we'd love to see what you guys have if you make something. Feel free to send it in to us. You can send it to spider@spectivastudios.com. And I'd love to be able to do a showcase of some of your stuff in the future if you're willing to jump in and, just give it a try. Give it a try. Anyway, that's what I brought us all together for today. I wanted to show this off to you. Thanks so much for coming. Again, if you're not a subscriber, would love to have you here. And by the way, hit the like button on this video. It really helps us out at YouTube, and we thank you for that. That's all I have for you today. Thanks again for dropping by. This is Spider, and I'll see you really soon.